In 2026, I think we need to bring back shame. The average influencer is getting increasingly ridiculous, and somebody has to make fun of them. Introducing Clavicular. You may know him from his getting frame-mogged by an ASU frat leader, or from his weird selfie he took with his grandma, or hell, maybe you know him from when he ran over that dude with his Cybertruck. Or it's possible you don't know anything about him at all, in which case I am very jealous of the life you live, and sit down, because you're gonna want to stay seated for this. I think the best way to introduce Clavicular would probably be for me to show you a video of him repeatedly hitting himself in the face with a hammer.
You feel it? Yeah. You feel your bones growing? I don't need it anymore.
Now, you might have clocked in that video that his speech was somewhat slurred, but it's a little hard to tell if that's a byproduct of his cartoon-esque repeated blunt force trauma, or, you know, all the drugs he routinely takes on camera during his 14-hour IRL live streams.
Fire. I'll split it with you. I'm popping this one. Are you sure it's good?
Go for it, man. It's, you know, it's not like anyone's watching or anything, right? Clavicular is a 20-year-old influencer who has become the face of looksmaxxing, but he's also recently gathered headlines for walking during New York Fashion Week, getting multiple media mainstream profiles, and for, getting arrested. If you've used social media in the past few weeks, he's been, at least on my algorithm, truly inescapable. Clavicular ran into ASU's top frat leader while jester maxing with gym cells, and instantly clocked peak cope. Bashful emoji. None of those words were in the Bible, were they? But have no fear, because by the end of this video, you too may be able to decipher the meaning of these incredibly bizarre tweets that have basically been written in what most linguists would consider a brand new dialect of the English language. And for those in my audience who aren't native English speakers, imagine how impressed your English teacher's going to be when you casually bust out the word jester maxing in a sentence during class. I'll even help you out. Jester maxing. Definition: maximizing the use of humor to win over women. Country of origin: looksmaxxers.org. Sentence example: Clavicular just cracked the code. Jester maxing at the club is officially the new meta. For what it's worth, this is from Clavicular's very controversial visit to a nightclub with Andrew Tate, where they bribed the employees to play Kanye West's new song, Hail Hitler. Which I can't imagine is a great way to win women over. Meta be damned. Unless you're trying to sleep with Ava Braun, but she's been dead since 1945. Same as the genocidal maniac you and Kanye are so insistent on hailing. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because I want to circle back to looksmaxx.org, because it's a great jumping off point to understand both looksmaxxing as a movement and Clavicular himself. The meaning of the term is relatively self-evident. It's a movement, if you can call it that, where primarily men are seeking to maximize their looks, their attractiveness, often with rather extreme methods.
Stop! Have a time!
And looksmaxx.org is their honest-to-God forum. Can you believe it, everyone? Like, in honest to God, in the year 2026, people are still using forums. And for most of the Gen Z and perhaps even some of the oldest members of Gen Alpha in my audience, think of a forum as TikTok, but instead of videos, there are just words. And racism, at least in the case of looksmaxx.org, where I spent dozens of hours looking through various posts by Clavicular and others in an attempt to try to understand what was going on beneath the surface of this man with all these popular TikToks. Okay, granted, based on that TikTok, there's probably not a lot going on around here besides, you know, Adderall, steroids, and, crystal meth.
I use crystal meth, so methamphetamine, as a stimulant.
Guys, I don't think we should let him influence anything. In this video, I'm going to attempt to understand and, of course, mock the internet's latest and greatest mega viral influencer, Clavicular. My name is Patrick, but my friends call me Pat. Please like, comment, and subscribe. All that fun stuff. It really helps out the channel. Free ways to support the channel, but most importantly, heart back by popular demand. Shameless self-plug. Do you need advice on something? Do you have a question about something going on in your life? Well, then I might be able to help, because I am operating the Tradwife Support Hotline, a comedy advice podcast. And if you dial our number, 844-220-0001, you can leave a voicemail. I just might be able to help you out and put your voicemail on the show. So call that number I don't have it memorized, 844-220-0001 if you want some help with advice and you maybe want to be on the show. Okay, sorry for that. Back to the video. I think it's best if we begin the story, perhaps not at the very beginning, but certainly at one of its funniest moments, with this photo taken of Clavicular by his grandmother. The optics of Clavicular's steroid bloated appearance, with his grandmother closing her eyes, hiding in the corner, taking this mirror photo, I guess it's not technically a selfie, and having it be posted on the subreddit of r/looksmaxxing advice provides a perfect underpinning to the origins of Clavicular, real name Braden Peters. And I've tested a lot of jokes with my friends about his name, but unfortunately the one that was the funniest for them was just the fact that his name was Braden Peters. So, sorry, Braden. But as he would later write on the Looksmaxx forums, quote, "Grandma maxing is a legit strat for rich white boys." Does this woman, who due to the lighting essentially appears as a translucent apparition instead of a jolly provider of cookies, does she know, or did she know, that one day her grandson would describe their living arrangement on this incel forum as grandma maxing, the suffix maxing there essentially just meaning to do something? Hard to know for sure, but her grandpa probably fought in World War I, and her grandson is just making a bunch of weird TikToks.
I really want to jelk. But I don't know if I should.
So, jelking, and I'm sorry to have to be the one to tell you this, is essentially jerking off one's penis forever until it magically becomes bigger. If this sounds a little suspicious to you, that's because it's not real. If it were true, I would have had about a 10-foot long penis by the time I was 13. Speaking of things we did that we regret when we were teenagers, let's talk about steroids. Because for many years, Clavicular has been on a self-prescribed regimen of drugs that would make Lance Armstrong's other ball explode out of shock. Since he was 14 years old, Clavicular has been taking a variety of illicit/unprescribed substances. Most relevant here is testosterone. When he was attending university, he hid testosterone in his dorm room, which eventually caused him to get caught and then subsequently expelled just 3 weeks after enrolling in college. And this seems like a bit of a bogus reason to expel someone, in my opinion. Expulsion really should only be limited to a couple things. It should be limited to either your academic performance, or if the dean sees this incredibly embarrassing admission that the drugs you're taking illegally have made you infertile.
So right now, I am infertile, but I'm not able to have a kid right now.
I love the expression of Sneeko's face when Clavicular says he's infertile. It's like something out of Looney Tunes. But, Clavicular, why are you so casually talking about your testicles not functioning? I mean, I guess in some ways I can relate, because I can't get my partner pregnant either, but that's just because I'm gay and butts don't work that way. It's not because I've been taking PEDs for the last 6 years of my life that have left my loins completely barren. If I wanted to and hated myself enough, I'm sure I could find a woman, provided I was able to vomit afterwards, which I guess gives me a bit of a biological leg up on Mr. Clavicular. I think it's worth questioning what drives a 14-year-old to start taking anabolic steroids and testosterone, unless their parents are intent on securing them a career in the circus as a grotesque freak. Although to give credit to Clavicular's parents, I mean, not a lot of credit, clearly something has gone very, very wrong in that parenting process, but they did kick him out of the house when he refused to stop taking these drugs, which of course necessitated his need to grandma max.
My mom used to take these away when I was growing up, because I was always bone smashing with a hammer, you know?
Yeah, I can't imagine why a child hitting themselves in the face repeatedly with a hammer would ever be cause for alarm. But a lot of this goes back to looksmaxxing and looksmaxx.org, where you will see things like what he was just doing, bone smashing, be repeatedly promoted. Clavicular is, in the words of another user, quote, a well-known member of looksmaxx.org. And in case you were wondering about that user's profile picture, yeah, that's Mads Mikkelsen's character from James Bond, combined with the Nazi symbol. I remember when I was a teenager and I played a lot of Minecraft multiplayer and Civilization 5, and sure, you could run into some toxicity, or you could play as, you know, Otto von Bismarck. You weren't really running into too many fascists. Clavicular was, and frankly still is, a very active member on this website, which I would charitably describe as not the best place to spend your formative years. To illustrate my point, I'm going to read you one of Clavicular's threads that he made on this website, and you can draw your own own conclusions about the nature of looksmaxxers.org. The title of the thread, quote, "Just slayed in front of cuck dad." And for our first incel dictionary definition moment of the video, slay just means to have sex with a woman. And I could bore you with the etymology. I'm sure it's like, oh, it's a conquest, we're conquesting, we've slayed a woman. You know, I think we'd all be better served if I get right into the whole cuck dad business. That sounds funnier, doesn't it? I went to this girl's house to pick her up and go to the beach, and we go, and I started complaining it was too cold and we should go to her place. The mom was a high school teacher who offered me Gatorade and apple slices like I was a 11-year-old, even though I was about to the shit out of her daughter. I think we need to take a pause for a couple reasons, mostly for my mental health and my sanity, but also for a pretty important one too. Has anyone ever considered having Gatorade and apple slices pre-sex before? Dare I say it, due to the electrolyte content of Gatorade and ample amounts of vitamin C in apples, this may be the new meta. Also, just for the record, meta is not an incel word, in case any of you don't know what it means. No, it's not referring to the company led by the evil gopher man that wants to steal all of our data and have us live in a VR world. It's just a video game term meaning most optimal strategy. Okay, back to this probably made up but definitely embarrassing tale told to us by, I believe, a 19-year-old Clavicular at this point. The dad was a beta cuck who I didn't interact with, but I could sense it, and he was micro-framed. Consider this the precursor to all of those viral tweets about frame mogging, but time for our second incel dictionary definition moment of the video. Basically, just frame mogging means like one person has more muscles than another person, specifically as it relates to like their stature and like shoulders and, you know, all the stuff that women really care about, right? And as this tweet indicates, even Clavicular isn't immune to the sordid fate of being frame mogged. But I digress. I just turned up the volume on a war movie and started railing her. I was Sildenafil plus Cialis maxing, so my cock was god tier girth. Her cuck dad clearly heard, cause I heard him lurking outside the door like a pervert. You know, it's not great to be 19 years old and be on the drugs meant for 70-year-olds who are fucking 19-year-olds and need them so that their penis will actually function, that it'll be brought back from the dead. Although maybe it's just attributable to the fact that they were watching a war movie. I know if I had to watch Gary Oldman in Darkest Hour, I would have some trouble getting excited. I also would need a pharmaceutical cocktail for my cock to get some tail. That's called a thinking man's pun right there. By the way, Timothée Chalamet deserved that Oscar over him. I'm still not over that. Perhaps the saddest part of Clavicular's story is this. You might be asking yourself why Clavicular is writing these cringe-worthy, possibly fabricated sex stories for a forum full of a bunch of incels who are obsessed with angular cheekbones. And that's a great question, because even the people in the replies of this story didn't really seem to be enjoying it that much. Slaying is f***ing gross, and nobody, let alone an incel, should be supporting hypergamy. If Clavicular posted about getting in a long-term relationship, that'd be commendable. I can see your eyes glazing over. Let me quickly translate. Having sex is gross and bad. Incels shouldn't want to be having sex because it's gross, but getting a girlfriend is cool. Go get a girlfriend. These people are so weird, man. Imagine this being your primary form of socialization and trying to come out of it on the other end as a well-adjusted human being. It seems almost impossible. I spent a lot of hours on this website researching for this video, and even I think I might be too far gone. I'm currently very impressed by this Clavicular post entitled "Fucked a Bitch and Don't Remember It." I'll spare you, I'm not going to read the whole thread, just his pleading missive towards the end of the post. Quote, "I hope she was hot."
What's it like for a girl having sex with you?
1 minute, and then you have to go to a clinic a few days later.
You've probably gathered by now that there's a good amount of overlap between all of these looksmaxxers and the involuntary celibates, the incels. There is a distinct irony in that, essentially a community of men giving themselves body dysmorphia and trying to make themselves the hottest they can possibly be, only to get no bitches.
Wait, do you think that's poor? They're calling me poor. 54K a year? That's good.
That's not good.
Why?
That's actually very not good.
Now, before we get all up in arms, making fun of Clavicular, which I know we've been doing all video, you know, maybe let's not be so judgmental about internet content creators who make $54,000 a year. Maybe let's not be so judgmental about that. Maybe let's perhaps, you know, maybe let's not make fun of them and the fact that their credit card recently denied their approval to get the credit limit raised. Maybe let's not be so judgmental, okay? For what it's worth, Clavicular was actually joking in that clip because he makes tens of thousands of dollars monthly between donations to his stream and other forms of revenue on social media, and potentially with alleged financial ties to billionaire ghoul Peter Thiel. And I do mean ghoul in the truest sense of the word, because if you ever look at Peter Thiel, he's quite scary looking. Like, I feel instead of leading all these companies, he should just be a mortician or in a haunted house. And if you haven't heard of Peter Thiel, here is a one-sentence primer on who he is. He co-founded Palantir, which is a global surveillance company which is comically evil, and he recently was rather non-committal when he was asked in an interview whether or not the human race should survive.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation.
We're just looking for a yes, Peter. A yes would be a good and very normal way to answer that question, Peter. He's also gay, which, unfortunately, the 21st century seems to be shaping up to be the century of the homosexual villain. And I'm not even talking about fun ones like LeFou from Beauty and the Beast, or Miss Danvers from Rebecca. I'm talking about this fucking gay vampire. Like, he sucks.
Do you know who Peter Thiel is? Peter Thiel, yeah. He's a billionaire that owns Palantir. I got invited to a Peter Thiel party. You think that's going to be a Diddy party? Probably. Whew.
If you ever have to ask before accepting an invite to a party, is this maybe going to be a Diddy party? Probably. You're going to be better off skipping it, I think. Like, okay, my friend just asked me to board game night on Partiful. Like, probably not a Diddy party. Didn't need to be on Partival. You could have just texted me. What's wrong with sending a text? Why does everything have to go through this app? But again, probably not a Diddy party. I think I'm good to go play Catan. But Peter Thiel's Christmas party, on the other hand, well, let's just say, probably best to bring a large container of baby oil instead of a fancy bottle of wine as a gift for the host. Just my 2 cents. Another alleged gotcha that Peter Thiel is bankrolling Clavicular is that one of the largest donors on his stream just simply goes by the name P. So, therefore, P could be for Peter Thiel. Or by that same logic, it could literally be for me. What can I say? I just feel a compelling and unstoppable interest to give Clavicular all of my money in the form of gifted subs. The last thing I'll say is that a reporter who simply goes by the name Micah, because all of history's greatest journalists style themselves identically to Madonna, Prince, and Hammurabi, she claims to have been money-mogged by Clavicular. She was interviewing the controversial streamer with $15,000 of compensation as a reward. I really wish someone would ask to interview me for 15 grand, but whatever. And when she asked him about his alleged ties with Peter Thiel, he basically said, nuh-uh.
Oh, we do a little journalism. The second that I brought up Peter Thiel and Palantir, he panicked. He then flipped it on me and then said I was the one funded by Peter Thiel.
Ah, I see. It's the he who smelt it dealt it defense, normally deployed in relation to flatulence, but here being used to great effect to dispel any potential alleged financial ties to evil gay billionaires. Whether or not Clavicular is being supported by any demonic gay hunks who have a name that starts with the letter P, or by Peter Thiel, what's undeniable is that he has been catapulted into the mainstream. He walked during New York Fashion Week in a bizarre outfit, phone in hand, but whatever. He's being profiled by the New York Times, and perhaps the most surefire sign that you're a rising celebrity, he's been recorded fighting in the club. Shout out to the person who made this video, William Banks, who is a notorious Twitter comedian, for the truly inspired creative decision to, right when the beat dropped, flip the camera onto himself for a full 10 seconds, which is a cinematic decision so brilliant, it can really only be compared to something like the match cut in terms of its excellence. But how precisely did Clavicular arrive in the mainstream? I mean, it had to have been something that he was posting on social media. Maybe it was his presence on TikTok. Let's look at a few of them before he really blew up, and be warned, these are going to be pretty complicated and very highbrow.
Wake up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy. My glasses, I'm out the door, I'm gonna hit this city.
This is his most popular TikTok, with a whopping 12 million views for a 10-second clip where he's just kind of awkwardly standing there while a chopped and skewed version of Kesha plays in the background, the lyrics bragging that he feels like P. Diddy. It's actually a bit of a challenge to find any popular TikToks from Clavicular where he's not just listlessly milling about for 8 to 14 seconds, sometimes lip-syncing, but I did find this one here.
There's only one coconut water left. What are we gonna do?
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
No, but we have to have a duel for this.
All right, meet me outside.
I actually don't really have too much to say about this one. I mean, sure, I could bemoan the fact that in society, the average teenage boy is watching this type of content for 5 hours a day during school and when they get home from school, and that's definitely not good for society, but I actually have something more important that I want to say. Coconut water is mid. Okay, you can boo me all you want, but just know that I'm right. Once you drink from an actual coconut, you'll never want to go back to these cardboard boxes of mediocrity and disappointment. Unless you're using them to, like, sneak alcohol into a baseball game or, like, a concert or something, in which case, like, you know, go crazy.
Just go crazy.
But maybe that's a bit of a sore subject to joke about, given that in recent weeks, Clavicular was actually arrested for underage drinking. Because, as a reminder, despite the fact that he has seemingly lived several lives already, he is 20 years old. But unfortunately, even being objectively young doesn't stop you from being called Unk these days. As Clavicular once put it, "These little pussy kids call me Unk, even though I'm 19. Twink death is happening younger and younger every year. Someone needs to stop this. Why are all our old twinks dying? But during a recent streaming trip to Arizona and Arizona State University, the police got a tip that, despite being in a bar, he was not actually of legal age to be consuming alcohol. And for my international viewers, yes, it is weird that the drinking age in the United States is 21. If you want to get some America bad points right now, go for it, okay? But I would ask you to just please be kind to us on account of the nascent fascism blooming in our nation and the fact that we barely are third place in Olympic gold medal count. It's America number 1, okay? Not America number 3. Norway? I can't even identify where that is on a map. What percentage of Americans, though, do you actually think can identify Norway on a map? Like, put a percentage in the comments if you want to take a guess. It's probably depressingly low. Depressingly, Oslo. This was on the same trip where, in what is perhaps one of my favorite clips of Clavicular, he tries to get an officer giving him a trespassing ticket to bone smash with him.
Do you guys know about bone smashing? Bone smashing? It's according to Wolf's Law. So, like, when you break down a bone, it grows back stronger. I feel like if I was more Mog, they would let me slide. Is that true? No.
So, Wolf's Law, the thing he cites, it's worth noting that that is not universally accepted scientifically. It's also more relevant to things like weightlifting and is kind of just based on this one random German surgeon from the 19th century. But perhaps my last point isn't super effective because this crowd of people loves a certain random German person from the 19th century and 20th, but that makes the joke worse, so please don't correct me in the comments. Ironically enough, last Halloween he actually dressed up like a prisoner, which is probably like definitely top 3 funniest costumes to wear before getting arrested, just after dressing up like an angel or dressing up like Orenthal James the Juice Simpson. To be honest with you, it seems like he wasn't ever really too concerned about the consequences of his actions. His publicist, Mitchell Jackson, was actually much more interested in how hot Clavicular looked in his mugshot. Quote, "I want this to be an iconic mugshot that can be sold on t-shirts in malls." And it seems that Mitchell Jackson, again, not to be confused with Michael Jackson, king of pop and friend of the kids, maybe a little too friendly, but Mitchell was on the right track. And while I don't think that the mugshot is currently on any shirts in malls, it is currently being used as the profile picture for this user of looksmaxxers.org. So there's that, I guess. Eventually, despite getting caught with unprescribed Adderall and a steroid and underage drinking, being charged with 2 felonies, he had all of his charges dropped and was free to go. Or, as this reporter put it, Clavicular has freedom mogged the Scottsdale Police Department. Mogged or mog, quick incel dictionary definition moment, just basically means to beat, to be better at, or to be hotter than. That's what mog means. As if this couldn't get any more ridiculous, Clavicular then quote tweeted that reporter with a screenshot from an article saying men's facial features may sway criminal sentencing, with the caption, "You just got a mog." And you know what? I'm starting to think that he might be right about that. This isn't even the first time he got out of legal trouble for crimes that he clearly did, allegedly, commit. He faced no charges for running someone over in a Cybertruck.
Is he dead?
I don't know.
Hopefully.
Not that you have to, under any circumstances, hand it to Clavicular, but the guy who he ran over was allegedly stalking him, so I guess in court they went with the "OMG, Your Honor, like, who cares?" defense, and I guess it paid dividends for them. Perhaps the only thing that really got Clavicular in any sort of real trouble, even though it was just reputationally, was the highly publicized Miami Manosphere meetup with the Tate brothers and Nick Fuentes. And the viral moments from this livestream were, of course, Kanye West's controversial song and all of these right-wing goons singing alongside it. There was more praise in that live stream of a certain long-dead Führer than there literally was in rallies in Nuremberg in the 1930s. Now, for those of you who are not caught up on Kanye West, maybe you haven't paid attention to him since like 2011, maybe you think he's still married to Kim Kardashian, just close your ears for like 15 seconds and then come back to us, okay? Good. All right. Let's be honest. Everybody else, let's be honest about Kanye now. To say he went off the deep end is probably an insult to the deep end, because last year he released a bunch of new songs that talked about a variety of topics, including, but not limited to, incest with his cousin, and a lot of praise for a certain German dictator, Adolf Hitler. Okay, that out of the way, let's welcome back all the people who still like Kanye and close their ears so as to not spoil their perception of him. Oh my god, isn't he a genius? Did you guys know he made Graduation? What a lyrical wizard. Maybe even a lyrical grand wizard. Clavicular and his ensemble played the Kanye West song Hail Hitler twice, once in Clavicular's party bus and another time in the nightclub, which apparently was enough to get someone fired from the nightclub after the fact. I think even with the audio muted because YouTube and YouTube hate songs, and also we probably should not be playing the Kanye West Nazi song, you can really tell just how much glee these right-wing lunatics are getting from ironically praising, or maybe not even ironically praising, this genocidal maniac who's responsible for the death of millions of innocent people. Clavicular, though, for his part, claims to be backing out of politics following this, which would probably make him the first apolitical Nazi in history, after, of course, only Greg from Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Larry taught me how to make a swastika. He wrote on a piece of paper he was doing like this evil man who hated Jews. What was his name again, Larry? Hitler, yeah.
Although, I think trying to assign any sort of ideology to Clavicular is a bit of a tall order. His first mainstream political interview was with conservative influencer Michael Knowles, who resembles a villain from a kid's movie if the hero of the kid's movie was a black child moving into a new neighborhood, but in that interview, Clavicular had this to say.
JD Vance is subhuman and Gavin Newsom mugs.
JD Vance is subhuman?
I love the shock in Michael Knowles' voice when Clavicular says that JD Vance is subhuman. Like, have you seen what he looks like? JD Vance resembles a diseased seal wearing male makeup who just whines all the time. I mean, I don't think we should be calling anybody subhuman, but if ever there were a person.
It's just embarrassing. Like, how are you fat and you expect to like lead a country? You can't even be in shape.
Now, okay, this is where Clavicular, maybe let's dial it back, because there are plenty of fat people in the world who aren't both racist and also very annoying. And we should let them be president if they want to.
Have you said thank you once?
The last thing of note regarding Clavicular that I want to discuss in this video are his baffling takes regarding queer people, particularly the trans community. Michael Knowles in that same interview goes on a long-winded rant about how he hates the trans people and yada yada yada, as men with small penises are often wont to do, and Clavicular after that just kind of ends him using his looksmaxxers parlance.
But the problem is, you see what you just did there is you spiked your cortisol thinking about transgenders.
Will that max anything on me?
No, that's a very catabolic hormone.
Time for another incel dictionary definition moment. Cortisol spiking, or having your cortisol spiked, just means to be stressed out, and it's categorically, it is a net negative. It's one of the worst things you can do, because I guess it's bad for aging and all that bullshit. I don't know. I guess you shouldn't be listening to a dictionary segment where the guy ends saying, I don't know. But I think that's the gist of it. And look, again, I don't really want to be praising Clavicular too much here, because right after this clip, he uses a slur and has some rather disingenuous framing about being trans, although it is fascinating the way his mind works.
Well, the way that I see trans is like, that's one more person to mog.
The saddest part about this is I think if you brought Lyndon Johnson back from the dead, taught him what the word mogging meant, this is exactly how he would talk about the trans community. But the thing about Lyndon Johnson is that he would also just sign a trans Bill of Rights while talking like this. Not sure the same thing is true with Clavicular.
I used to be like, oh, fuck, you know, fuck these people, whatever. But I just really couldn't give a fuck. You know? I got better things to worry about.
He's really demonstrating sort of a weird conditional acceptance of the queer community alongside sort of performative machismo / edginess, while also literally eating a burger from McDonald's, aka burger maxing. If I've done my job well enough, I hope you can assume what the term burger maxing actually means. I don't know if I find his rhetoric potentially encouraging for people on the right, or if I just find it disturbing, but what I do know is that it is pretty emblematic of who he is as a whole. Clavicular is, if nothing else, pretty ignorant. He's ignorant to the consequences of live streaming GTA IRL. He's ignorant to the consequences of smashing your face with a hammer. He's ignorant to the consequences of using all sorts of slurs, because in his view, quote, it's not a racist thing, it's just a fun word to say. And I'll give you one guess as to the word he is talking about there. I sorted through a ton of clips, a lot of footage to put this video together, and I can tell you that a lot of this character that he presents is fairly constructed. He loves to joke, be deceptive, and it's often unclear when he's being genuine, if at all. And again, to be honest with you, he's often on drugs.
Would Charlie Kirk have gotten assassinated if he were Chad? Well, probably not, and here's why. Good-looking people experience something called the halo effect, so it's quite possible that if Charlie were to be better looking, someone wouldn't have hated him enough to assassinate him.
This video is, let's face it, pretty funny, but it also betrays something a lot deeper about how Clavicular views the world.
Looks really are going to determine the quality of your life to a high degree, so if you're not doing everything you can to maximize them, you're missing out.
He is so single-handedly focused on his physical appearance. It really feels like something out of Greek myth. Let's take a look here. Yeah, here we go. I'm reading off my phone from Wikipedia, but that's fine. That's counterintuitive. Narcissus rejected the advances of all women and men who approached him, instead falling in love with his own reflection in a pool of water. Wait, it actually sounds like I'm describing Nick Fuentes here, particularly with the rejection of women.
Yo, Nick, I'm gonna bring some girls over for you.
The homophobia present in the looksmaxxers community I find to be particularly ironic, especially given how homoerotic it is.
And Clav, like, gets in his face, and the jawline is protruding. Is going to sound a little homosexual, but the jawline's protruding, veins bulging. He's like, what did you just say to me?
Sorry, I just really had to get that clip in the video, and we are running out of time. I think it's funny when obviously gay guys are Republicans, so that basically means they have to pretend to be a gay guy from like the 1950s who's just living with, their roommate for 38 years, their roommate. But I'd like to play one more clip for you all, and it's of Clavicular when he got a text from his father after he had done ketamine on stream for like the billionth time.
My dad said full-blown drug addict, sad. My dad said that.
Don't say that right now.
Oh, Dad.
Don't say that.
Dad, I'm making money. What the fuck do you want me to do? Next stream we'll give shit to the homeless or something.
Now, look, I've spent an entire video clowning on the guy, and I just showed you a bunch of clips of him saying slurs. But I feel bad for him, accepting the potential that this, like many things that he does, could be fabricated. I feel sad. The portrait of the person I've just been talking about for the last half hour is not a happy one. It's not someone who's satisfied with themselves or the world, and I think his voice reveals that in that clip. One of the first anecdotes I shared with you was about how his parents kicked him out of the house after he'd been kicked out of college, forcing his need to grandma max. And I promise I am trying to make a salient emotional point despite the fact that I just used the word grandma max. But beneath all the surface, all the moronic TikToks and the incel lexicon and the bone smashing, it's not someone who's happy. And I think you really get that in this clip. It's someone broadcasting for thousands of people and then getting a text from their dad saying, hey son, you're a drug addict. And then it's also a person who's reading that message out loud, not only for the woman he's on a date with, but for those thousands of people watching him. And his logic is incredibly telling too, because he thinks that his newfound wealth has justified all of the choices he's made in his life, for better or for worse, and that a parent's love, when lost, can be repurchased with charitable donations to the homeless or something.
Next stream we'll give shit to the homeless or something.
Clavicular has gone viral because he's representative of many negative elements of our culture. And to be honest with you, he's very cringe. But my honest to God takeaway is that he would be best served if he took some of that newfound wealth and went to see a therapist, especially given he's still young enough to be on his parents' insurance plan. And stop doing drugs on camera and saying slurs. That also feels like salient advice for this character. Oh, and one last thing, maybe just for good karma's sake, the next time you see the Orlando area Asian mogger, you should just verify him.
I'm like known in Orlando as like the Asian mogger. I would have the honor if you could verify me as the Orlando Asian mogger.
Bro.
Just a thought. But that's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. All free ways to help out the channel and help me out personally. And I super duper appreciate you for watching and making it to the end. Comment down below what you think, as always, and call the number if you want to be on the podcast. But as always, my name is Patrick, but my friends call me Pat, and I'll see you for the next one.